Star Wars is one of the most popular franchises around the world and, of course, of all time. Now, with that being said, ever since Disney took over Star Wars in 2012, it's no secret that a lot of people have been really disappointed with a lot of the things that have been coming out on the big screen and small screen when it comes to movies and TV. And ever since EA got the license to make Star Wars video games in 2013, it's also no secret that there's only really been a handful of games that have been truly worthwhile and truly great experiences since then. And I honestly just wonder what's going to be happening to the future of Star Wars video games because, of course, recently we've seen that games that sounded like they could have been amazing, like the Mandalorian game that was coming from Respawn, got canceled. And apart from that, the collection that was recently released with the OG Battlefront 1 and 2 games didn't really do justice to those games and how great they were over 20 years ago, which is honestly straight up embarrassing. So I just have to ask you, do you honestly think that Star Wars games can ever strike back? I could go on for hours about why, or just my hate for a lot of the sequel trilogy and a lot of the TV shows that have been coming out on Disney Plus since Disney took over Star Wars. But when it comes to the games, man, it's really just disappointing to see that even a game that sounds like it would have been printing money hand over fist, like Respawn's Mandalorian game, that was going to be a first-person shooter single-player game, a game like that gets canceled, and I'm just left wondering why. Like, who thought it was a good idea to cancel that? When it's been confirmed that The Mandalorian is moving from getting another season on Disney Plus to having a full-on feature film being released in theaters, I mean, doesn't it just sound like a good idea to have the marketing coincide with a Mandalorian video game and a Mandalorian movie? I mean, I have no idea when that movie's supposed to be coming out. I don't know if it's going to be this year in 2024 or next year in 2025, but it seems like that just would have made sense to have the marketing for that Mandalorian game and the Mandalorian movie kind of coincide, or be able to kind of, bounce off the popularity of one another to help each product actually sell and actually make them money. I mean, it just seems like it would have been a good idea. And again, I don't understand how a game like that gets canceled, because apart from just sounding like it would have printed money, it's clear that Respawn knows what they're doing when it comes to making Star Wars games. When it comes to the little amount of Star Wars games that have actually been worth playing and have actually been worth your time, in my opinion, since EA took over, Respawn is responsible for a lot of that, because they actually made Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. Apart from that, Respawn knows what they're doing when it comes to the FPS genre, because as we all know, they made Titanfall, they made Titanfall 2, and they made Apex Legends. So it just doesn't make sense to me that a game like that gets canceled when, as of right now, the only games we have to look forward to now are really just Star Wars Outlaws and maybe Star Wars Eclipse, because to my knowledge, I don't really think we know anything else about Star Wars Eclipse from those developers. We had that one trailer that came out that showed, like what could have been, or potentially a young Yoda, and that looked really dope. That looked really interesting, because that actually is going way back in the past, and it's not focusing like on the main, timeline of episodes 1 through 9, and it's not focusing on going in the future. It's actually going way in the past. So in my opinion, Star Wars Eclipse, if it's still happening, again, I don't really know anything as of right now, because the developers have been pretty much silent this entire time. But if it's still happening, that game, in my opinion, seems like it could be really cool, seems like it could be really interesting. But apart from that, I mean, the KOTOR remake, that was like actually confirmed to be canceled, and then it came back. I really don't know what's going on with that either. So as of right now, the future of Star Wars games and the current state of it is pretty disappointing, if you ask me, because I personally have no excitement really for Star Wars Outlaws. The game looks like it's going to be pretty generic, pretty cookie cutter. Of course, I really hope I'm wrong, because if we actually do get an amazing open world, Star Wars game, even if, the story is already kind of picked for us and we can't make our own character, it can't be kind of like original or more RPG-like, I don't mind. I mean, if it's an amazing story with a great world that has great gameplay and, great presentation when it comes to audio and visual design, I mean, yeah, that could be a fun time. Personally, a big caveat for me, or just a huge red flag for Star Wars Outlaws, is the fact that it's a Ubisoft game. I mean, that's the elephant in the room with that, because I see so many people just kind of overlooking the fact that it's being made by Ubisoft, and they're just known, at least for the last few years now, to be making disappointing game after disappointing game. So, you have to keep that in mind when it comes to Star Wars Outlaws, because I'm personally not planning on getting it at release, but I'm definitely keeping my eye on it in case it does end up being a great experience. But, in my opinion, man, I just don't know what's going to happen, and that's what sucks, because Star Wars is a franchise, like I said, I care about it. I grew up with it, man, and that's why I'm so passionate about this, because it just doesn't make sense to me that games can be canceled time and time again. And yeah, okay, if you want to cancel a game for whatever reason, that's fine, but at least give the fans something that takes its place, a game or a product that's actually worth buying and putting time and money into. Because apart from the Respawn games, with Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, EA's Battlefront games from 2015 and 2017, I mean, come on, we all know what happened with those. 2015, I'm never going to forget seeing that reveal trailer for the first time. I'm never going to forget playing Battlefront 2015 for the first time, because when it was relevant, when it was new, I mean, yeah, dude, that hype was real, and that game was mind-blowing at the time, because it was like, for so many people like me, I'm sure, I mean, it was just like the visual dream of what Battlefront was back in the day when we were little kids playing OG Battlefront 1 and 2. When I saw Battlefront in 2015, it was like that's what it looked like when I was a kid, and it was just mind-blowing. But of course, both of those releases were extremely controversial, and what sucks, in my opinion, the most about those two EA games is the fact that Battlefront 2 from 2017, near the end of its life cycle, pretty much at the end, it was already entering a pretty great state. It was actually turning around. Everything was improving in that game for the most part, and the developers DICE actually had another huge update planned for Battlefront 2, where they were going to add another planet with Utapau, and I think they were going to add Asajj Ventress, Mace Windu, Commander Cody. It was going to be an insane update to give the game what would have been, in my opinion, an almost perfect send-off, because again, Battlefront 2 from 2017, man, near the end of its life cycle, it really was turning things around, and it was really improving greatly. And nowadays, you know, in 2024, it's been almost 7 years now since that game came out, which is pretty insane to think about. But that game nowadays, I mean, you're lucky if you can find like pretty populated matches, and sometimes you'll find annoying ass people that are hacking or just like super cracked out in the game, and they're just trying way too hard, in my opinion. So it does suck now that that experience has been a little bit tainted, a little bit tarnished. But overall, man, Battlefront 2, in my opinion, I mean, it just sucks that that game couldn't get that last update, because I really feel like that would have made it potentially an all-time great, really. I mean, I know that might sound controversial now even, because of course, looking back, Battlefront 2, man, it's really just one of those cases where like, why did the game release in the state it was in? Because it just, if it just would have had, you know, the way it was at the end from the beginning, if it would have been that way from the start, I mean, dude, we'd be talking about arguably the best first-person shooter from Star Wars of all time, in my opinion, with Battlefront 2 from 2017. If it would have released the way it was at the end of its life cycle, and we would have gotten even more content on top of all that, I mean, come on, it's pretty, like, I think that's pretty hard to argue against, because Battlefront 2 looks amazing, and, you know, I think I'm going way too off just about that one game now, but yeah, man, it's a shame, because the future of Star Wars games as of right now, it just seems like it's, you know, pretty bleak. It seems like it's pretty unknown, but the good thing is, I guess the silver lining is, because it's true, nobody's stopping you from going back and enjoying the old games. You know, if you still enjoy Force Unleashed 1, Force Unleashed 2, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, you know, Republic Commando, the OG Obi-Wan game on the OG Xbox, Lego Star Wars 1, 2, the complete saga, no one's stopping you from playing those games. The only problem is, and what sucks in my opinion, is the fact that it's been so many years now and we just don't get games like that anymore. Because you have to also think that back in the day, we were getting those games, man, bangers of AAA Star Wars releases, essentially back to back. And it really felt like for a while there, it was pretty undefeated when it came to Star Wars games. And now, you know, you're lucky if you can get a decent experience, you know. So I guess with that being said, man, I really don't have a lot left to say about this. It just sucks in my opinion, and it really is sad as somebody who grew up with Star Wars and just still wants to see this franchise really turn around, because I feel like, you know, certain things are good from Star Wars still, don't get me wrong. I still enjoy certain you know, releases when it comes to games, when it comes to shows, I guess, you know, it's rare, but I still do find some enjoyment in it. But it just sucks that it can't be, you know, the way it was, or that it just can't really reach the potential that so many people believe that it still has. With that being said, though, my name's Nico. Thank you so much to all of you for watching this video. Let me know if you agree with me and if you really feel like Star Wars is good or if it's bad right now, or what you think the future of Star Wars video games looks like. Thank you so much to all of you for watching. Again, make sure to like, dislike, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, whatever you want to do. My name's Nico, and I'll see all of you in the next one.